for both calligraphy and painting. The first and most important of these four treasures is the brush. The Chinese brush is used for both writing and painting. In Europe, on the other hand, the quill pen on paper took over from the stylus and reed pen that the ancient Mesopotamians had used on their soft clay tablets. There was a clear division. Western painting went the way of the brush, while writing went the way of the pen. In China, there was no such division.
And we have so many types of brushes. One stroke you got to run from here to there. And hairs from goat, hairs from also horse with goat inside. This is a feather of a bird. It's a horse hair, bear's hair. And this brush is made by the baby's hair. You know, the baby's hair, when the baby is born, say about 4 or 5 days, you cut the hair, and then you make this like this. So we keep this hair, baby's hair brush, until the baby is about 21 years old. Then you give it to him as a present. It will be nice.
The Chinese brush is a surprisingly high-tech little instrument composed of carefully selected animal hairs, which are formed into a conical clump and fixed into the end of a bamboo tube. The hairs in the brush tip form a reservoir that can hold enough ink to allow the drawing of long, continuous lines, which, if the tip is held perpendicular to the surface, can move in any direction. By applying pressure and releasing it, the calligrapher can modulate the thickness of the line, allowing for more artistic expression. Chinese painters used the undulating line of calligraphy to express the first rule of Chinese painting, the transmission of the spirit. And so, from the earliest times, the expressive line of calligraphy also flowed into the art of painting. Very few paintings of court artists of the great Tang dynasty of the 7th and 8th century remain. But in Shanxi province in western China, we can find the tomb of Princess Yongtai, who in the year 701, at the tender age of 17, was ordered to commit suicide by the evil empress Wu Zetian. Although pillaged by robbers centuries ago, murals on the walls remain to show the good life the princess should have enjoyed and reveal the style of the court painters of the time. Here we can see the calligraphic line of Wang Zixue, with thick lines delineating the figures and thin lines describing the features of the girls. To this day, this expressive line, painted with the versatile Chinese brush, dominates Chinese painting. Mastery of the brush was essential, but so was a deep understanding of the ink. The Chinese say, "The brush dances, but the ink sings." Around the time of Wang Zixue, the Chinese had developed an ink that made clear and durable marks on paper, which we call India ink because it was imported by the British via India. The French more accurately call it l'encre de Chine, or Chinese ink, the second treasure of the scholar's table. Chinese painters often used black ink washes to depict color. In fact, they had an expression that all 6 colors could be effectively expressed using black ink alone. This painting by a Buddhist monk entitled Persimmons shows an incredible mastery of the subtleties of ink to suggest color. This is the 13th century artist Lang Kai's Inkwash Painted Immortal. We see the painter's tonal range varies from the sheer black of the immortal's belt, painted with heavily saturated ink, to the light washes used to paint his robe. Brush and ink work together to convey the artist's spirit when painting this immortal. Mountains fading into the distance were rendered by washes of light ink or blue color alone, without preliminary outlines or modeling. The third treasure is paper, which was invented in China some 2,000 years ago. Before that, the Chinese wrote on thin strips of bamboo, which they would roll up into cumbersome scrolls. The emergence of calligraphy as an art was made possible by the use of paper as a medium, because its absorbency enabled it to catch every nuance of the writer's touch more effectively than the bamboo surface. The fourth and final treasure is the inkstone, which is used as a surface to grind down an ink stick and mix it with water. A highly prized item, fine examples were passed from one generation to the next.
We keep a lot of inkstones, like different type of inkstones. Inkstones, you must massage it every day. You see, you hold it and you massage. And you'll find when in the winter, when you rub it, very cold, the weather very cold, and the whole body sweated. Why? Because all these acupuncture points from your hand here, you massage, you touch it, and there's a relationship, a friendship, a love with the ink. So you see this, my biggest inkstone. I brought it back from China. I don't know how heavy it is. It is about, I don't know how many tons it is.
The unique set of tools used by painters influenced the unique look of Chinese paintings. Their painting techniques also heavily influenced the look and composition of these paintings. Many Westerners assume that the Chinese painters had no grasp of Western realistic painting techniques, for if they had, they would have used them. For example, in the year 1804, one English visitor to China reported the Chinese were unable to pencil out a correct outline of many objects, to give body to the same by the application of proper lights and shadows, and to lay on the nice shades of color, so as to resemble the tints of nature. Traditional Western painting utilizes a fixed point of view with linear perspective. This means these paintings contain a vanishing point, just where two train tracks, for example, meet on the horizon. Likewise, Western paintings employ a fixed light source to throw shadows. But the Chinese did understand and used these techniques. In fact, ever since the Sung dynasty in the 12th century,